with the train depot millions secured and Shay's dual storefronts dominating the avenue, a golden, luxurious cooldown finally washed over the city. The raw, bloody friction of the trenches seemed to dissolve into high-end relaxation. But in a city this deep, quiet didn't mean empty. It just meant the drama was happening behind closed doors, draped in silk, designer gear, and heavy smoke. The Grand Oasis, KTA and the Inner Circle. Inside the Polish room nail shop the vibes were immaculate. The front doors were locked for a private after-hours session. Shay sat in a plush velvet chair, holding baby Spider who was peacefully sleeping in a designer blanket. Tink and Lola were at the manicure stations, laughing loudly as they filed down acrylics, while Sky poured up glasses of expensive pink champagne for the crew. In the back VIP suite, Meyer and Pam were casually counting the day's backroom product profits, throwing the rubber-banded bands into a luxury duffel bag like it was nothing. "I'm telling you," Maya said, peeking through the blinds at the crowded, oblivious Diamond Glow salon next door. "Those hairstylists downtown think we just really love doing nails. They have no idea we cleared 50 grand before noon." "Keep 'em blind," Pam laughed, clicking her compact pistol into her purse. "Gotta keep the beauty clean." Upstairs in the penthouse, the KTA brothers were experiencing a rare, uninterrupted peace. Smokey was lounging on the leather sofa, completely relaxed, his arm draped over the back as he watched his family thrive. Sosa stood by the glass balcony doors, unmasking for the first time in months, just taking a slow sip of premium whiskey. Swag was busy admiring a brand new diamond chain he bought with his cut from the train depot heist, while Louis and Trey were sitting at the kitchen island, completely ignoring the blocks for once as they argued over a video game controller. "Yo, Trey, stop screen cheating, bro," Louis yelled, laughing as he mashed the buttons. "You run the street logistics, but you can't even handle a virtual defense." "Man, I play to win," Trey hyped back, flashing a wide grin. "In the streets or on the screen, KTA doesn't lose." Famous and Reese stood by the built-in bar, cracking jokes. For a crew that had faced death a dozen times over, the silence was the ultimate luxury. The Cyber Trickers, Bluefield vs. 501 Boys. Down in the courtyard, the relaxation was a little more rugged. The Bluefield Alliance was holding down the perimeter barbecue. Jackson and Curtis were flipping burgers on a massive grill, the music bumping low. Pooh was sitting on the hood of a pristine SUV, a heavy blunt tucked behind his ear. His phone was buzzing out of control. He was scrolling through the lingering internet fallout of his digital war with the East Side. At Bluefield Pooh, post-war burgers hitting different on the north side. Hamburger Fire Street's calm because the emotional boys finally ran out of tissue. Where the noise at? Miles away on the east side, the cooldown felt completely different. It felt like a cage. Inside a dim automotive garage, the 501 boys were winding down, but the air was still toxic. Michael was sitting on a toolbox, quietly counting a smaller stack of cash, his face expressionless. Flacco was under the hood of a muscle car, wiping grease off his hands, entirely tired of the standstill. Payne was packing the concrete floor, his eyes fixed on Pooh's latest post. The anger was still there, but the halftime energy had drained his momentum. He started typing a furious reply, but Nikki walked into the garage, draped in expensive furs that Trap had bought her months ago, looking entirely out of place and looking for drama. "You're still obsessing over the internet, Payne," Nikki said, rolling her eyes as she checked her nails. "Trap is out in Miami right now, and you're still in a dusty garage mad at a Bluefield runner." Payne slammed his phone onto the table, glaring at her. "Shut up, Nikki. You're the reason this whole city is bleeding. Michael, tell this girl to get out of my face before I spark this war back up myself." Michael didn't even look up from his cash. "Leave it alone, Payne. The streets are making money right now. Don't ruin the cash flow over pride." Hash the view from the top, the starting. In the sky-high penthouse of the starting the atmosphere was pure corporate opulence. Trap was standing by the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, looking down at the tiny headlights of the city below like a king looking over a map. Tip sat at the conference table, puffing on a fresh imported cigar, reviewing their multi-state expansion charts. Their legendary elite security detail, Isaiah Mac and Tyrone stood silently in the corners, their sharp suits pressed, their heavy automatic weapons tucked out of sight but entirely ready. "The 501 boys are fracturing from the inside, Trap," Tip said, blowing a ring of white smoke. "Nikki is draining Payne's head, and Michael is too smart to push a losing line. We won this round without firing a single shot." "I told you, Tip," Trap said smoothly, turning around and fixing his cuffs. "Money always outlasts emotion. Let the little boys play in the mud. We own the skyline." Hash the West Side Council and the Independent Poet. Deep on the West Side, the go-getters were enjoying the massive interest profits rolling in from their loans. Inside their private luxury lounge, Killa was reviewing the books, highly satisfied. Q was tracking the global distribution lines on his digital monitors, while DJ was showing off a brand new custom sports car to a group of their elite female operators, including V***, who was sipping a cocktail and smiling like a cat who caught the canary. "White Stones actually paid their interest on time," Q noted, surprised. "That premium pack we gave them must be drowning the North Side." "They paid because they know what happens if they don't," Killa smiled coldly. Suddenly, the heavy double doors of the lounge burst open. Peanut marched in, wearing a silk shirt open to his chest, his backward bandana gleaming with a fresh gold pin. He had a massive bag of premium snacks in one hand and a thick blunt in the other, completely crashing the high-class vibe with his theatrical energy. "Behold the architects of the West Side wealth," Peanut shouted, gesturing wildly to Killa, Q, and DJ. "I just came from KTA Block, brothers. The energy is cosmic. Smokey is walking like a god, Shay is running a beauty empire, and the streets are singing a song of pure prosperity. I told y'all when the halftime hits, the real visionaries stack their paper in harmony." DJ burst out laughing, throwing his hands up. "Pac, we were wondering when you were gonna show up to give a speech. Come have a drink, man." "I bring the vibes, DJ. I bring the celebration," Peanut declared, dapping up Killa and sitting right on the edge of the mahogany desk, entirely at home. Hash the shadows of Redfield. But while the entire city was laughing, drinking, and counting millions, there was one corner where the cooldown felt like a slow, suffocating death sentence. Inside the fortified, dark central building of the Redfield Apartments the air smelled like stale sweat and paranoia. Kevin and Mitch were sitting in complete silence, watching their grainy security monitors. The outer perimeter was completely empty. After KTA decimated their frontline, nobody wanted to stand guard for Redfield anymore. Dion sat in the shadows of the kitchen, his hand trembling as he gripped his pistol. His bandaged shoulder was fully healed, but his mind was broken. He remembered the look in Swag and Peanut's eyes when they embarrassed Reggie at the corner store. He knew the message they sent. "Next time you die." "They're just waiting," Dion whispered, his voice cracking in the dark. "Smokey is healthy, Reese is hunting. They're just letting us sit here and sweat before they come finish it." Kevin didn't answer. He just stared at the monitor, completely aware that while the rest of the city was celebrating the peaceful halftime, the clock was ticking down for Redfield, and when the music stopped, there wouldn't be any mercy left. The unholy alliance, Redfield and White Stones. The suffocating paranoia inside the Redfield apartments had finally pushed Kevin and Mitch to the edge. They couldn't sit in the dark forever while KTA grew richer by the day off Shay's nail shop front. They needed product, they needed muscle, and they needed to show the streets they weren't dead. Under the cover of a foggy midnight, Kevin, Mitch, and a twitchy Dion drove out to a secluded industrial park on the north side. Waiting for them in a blacked-out sedan were the White Stones leaders. Big Dot Terrence and J Money White Stones was sitting on a massive surplus of that ultra-pure, high-grade West Side pack they had secured from the Go-Getters Killa Q and DJ. They had the supply, but with the 501 boys and KTA keeping them under a watchful lens, they needed extra hands to move it fast and clear their heavy interest debt. "We heard y'all were hiding like rats, Kevin," Big Dot said coldly, slamming a heavy duffel bag of premium West Side product onto the hood of his car. "We weren't hiding, we were planning," Kevin growled back, tossing over a briefcase of their remaining cash reserves. "KTA thinks they won. They're comfortable. They're relaxed. This pack is going to put our runners back on the map." J Money smirked, adjusting his jacket. "Just make sure your little boys move it smart. If the go-getters don't get their profit because of your beef, we all bleed." The deal was finalized in the shadows. Redfield walked away with a massive supply of the best drugs in the city. Within 24 hours, the Redfield blocks were buzzing again. Their low-level runners were back on the corners, flooded with premium product, and the sudden influx of cash started to bring the confidence back to their camp. The Spark, the grocery store parking lot. The newfound confidence quickly turned back into lethal aggression. It was a bright Friday afternoon at the Big Apple grocery store parking lot, just a few blocks away from the neutral zone. Families were loading groceries, and the afternoon sun was beating down on the asphalt. Walking across the parking lot, carrying a bag of items for the KTA penthouse nursery, was Marcus Jr., a young 19-year-old low-rank runner for KTA. He was a good kid from the neighborhood, eager to help out the family, completely unaware that the halftime truce had just expired. Cruising through the parking lot in a battered sedan was a hot-headed, low-ranking Redfield member named Lil Trey *. He had been feeling the pressure from Dion and Kevin to make a name for himself, and his glove compartment was riding heavy. Lil Trey slammed on the brakes as he spotted Marcus Jr.'s KTA-branded jacket. "Yo, look at this KTA and **A lacking in broad daylight," Lil Trey yelled to his driver. Before his driver could even stop the car, Lil Trey threw the door open and stepped out into the blinding sunlight, drawing a heavy black pistol. Marcus Jr. looked up, his eyes widening in sudden, horrific realization as he dropped the grocery bag. "Hey, Redfield rocks the city," Lil Trey screamed. Bang, bang, bang. 3 thunderous shots shattered the afternoon peace, echoing violently across the concrete parking lot. Marcus Jr. didn't even have time to scream. The bullets caught him squarely in the chest, the force throwing him backward against the side of a parked SUV. He slid down the metal door, leaving a horrific streak of bright red blood before collapsing onto the asphalt, completely lifeless. The grocery parking lot erupted into absolute chaos. Women screamed, dropping their carts, and people sprinted for cover. Lil Trey let out a wild, adrenaline-fueled laugh, hopped back into the passenger seat, and the sedan peeled out of the parking lot, leaving a cloud of burning rubber and a fresh KTA body in the dirt. The smoke clears, the fire ignites. The news hit KTA block like a nuclear bomb. Upstairs in the penthouse, the golden era of relaxation vanished in a single fraction of a second. Sosa slammed his fist into the drywall, leaving a massive crater in the plaster. Famous stood by the kitchen island, his eyes completely bloodshot, his phone buzzing with a picture someone had already texted him of the crime scene. Smokey walked out of the back room, his face completely pale but set like concrete. Shay ran over, clutching baby Spider tightly to her chest. Her sisters Tink Lola and Sky instantly breaking down into tears of anger. Down in the VIP room of the nail shop, Meyer and Pam stopped counting the money, their hands instantly reaching for their heavy hardware. They killed Marcus Jr., Trey whispered, his voice trembling with a mix of sorrow and explosive rage. In a grocery store parking lot, in front of everybody. Louis slammed his laptop onto the counter, typing furiously. I just intercepted the Redfield chat logs. They're celebrating. They're telling the whole city they got their product back from White Stones and they're taking over the strip. Swag dropped his new diamond chain onto the table, completely unbothered by luxury now. He reached into the hall closet and pulled out a massive tactical duffel bag, unzipping it to reveal rows of assault rifles and drums. Reese stepped out onto the center of the living room floor. He didn't look at anyone. He just picked up a heavy, blacked-out rifle and loaded a 50-round drum with a sickeningly loud, final click asterisk. No more waiting, Reese said, his voice a dead. A motionless echo that chilled the entire room to absolute zero. No more plans. We don't just hit their perimeter this time. Sosa, famous. Pack the trucks deep. Tonight we go to Redfield and we don't stop shooting until the entire complex is a graveyard. Sosa looked at Smokey, who gave a single, slow, lethal nod. The halftime was officially over, the truce was dead, and KTA was rolling out to unleash a level of violence the city had never seen before. The block was hot, but KTA didn't do mourning, they did math, and they did vengeance. Marcus Jr.'s blood hadn't even dried on the parking lot asphalt before Louis tapped into the city's underground camera network from the penthouse tech desk. I tracked the sedan, Louis said, his eyes reflecting the blue light of 3 monitors. Lil Trey didn't go back to the Redfield bunker. He went straight to Cut and Shave Barbershop on the edge of the north side. He's sitting in a chair right now getting a fade, bragging to the barbers. Trey stood up, adjusting a black tactical vest over his hoodie, his eyes cold. He thinks he's safe because it's a public spot. He thinks the halftime rules still apply. Not today, Swag said, racking the slide of a sleek blacked-out automatic pistol. Louis, you're on the wheels. Trey, you're with me. We close this account right now. The barbershop hit. The afternoon sun was casting long shadows down the avenue as a dark KTA SUV pulled up silently across the street from the bustling barbershop. Inside, hip-hop music was playing, and through the glass windows, Lil Trey could be seen leaning back in a barber's chair, a cape around his neck, laughing with a handful of patrons. Louis kept the engine purring, his foot hovering over the gas pedal. 30 seconds, brothers, hit 'em fast. Swag and Trey kicked their doors open. With their faces masked in black silk, they walked completely synchronized across the asphalt, pushing open the glass doors of the barbershop. The bell above the door chimed, and the entire shop instantly froze at the sight of the heavy hardware. Everybody on the floor, don't look up, Swag roared, his voice commanding absolute authority. Lil Trey's eyes darted to the mirror, his face turning an instant, sickly pale as he tried to struggle out of the barber's cape. He reached frantically for the waistband of his pants. Trey didn't give him a single second. He stepped forward, his compact automatic spitting flame in a tight, devastating burst. Bang, 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 bang. The heavy caliber rounds shattered the mirror behind the chair into a million crystalline pieces, tearing right through Lil Trey before he could even stand up. The Redfield runner crashed hard against the linoleum floor, completely lifeless, surrounded by shattered glass and clipped hair. The patrons and barbers screamed, pressed flat against the floor. Swag stood over the body, pointing his weapon down to ensure the job was finished, then looked at the trembling head barber. "Tell Kevin and Dion that KTA sends its regards," Swag whispered coldly. Trey and Swag spun on their heels, sprinting back out to the waiting SUV. Louis slammed on the gas, the tires smoking as they vanished back into the city veins, leaving Redfield's top rising runner in the dirt. The Fortress of Beauty, Shay's golden empire. While the brothers handled the bloodshed, Shay was turning the avenue into a legitimate corporate stronghold. With the backing of the train depot millions, the Diamond Glow Salon and the Polish Room Nail Shop completely transformed. Shay hired a world-class interior designer to overhaul both spaces. The salon was fitted with gold-rimmed mirrors, plush white leather chairs, and crystal chandeliers that attracted the wealthiest clientele from downtown, completely outclassing any shop in the state. But next door at the nail shop, the operation became a beautifully disguised, high-volume narco-hub. Shay, along with her sisters Tink Lola and Sky and her ride-or-die friends Meyer and Pam were moving massive numbers. Because the go-getters, premium product was flooding the city through white stones, Shay used her corporate beauty lines to completely undercut the market. Behind the velvet curtains of the VIP nail lounge, Maya and Pam were vacuum sealing premium beauty packages that actually contained half-kilogram bricks of pure product. High-end buyers, corrupt city elites, and independent dealers would walk in for a luxury manicure and walk out with designer shopping bags loaded with millions of dollars in supply. Total lockdown security. Shay knew that with this level of wealth and the Redfield War reigniting, the shops were a massive target. She didn't rely on the streets for protection. She went professional. Shay used the KTA cash reserves to hire a private, elite tactical security firm. The entire commercial building housing both shops was placed under a 24-hour military-grade lockdown. 6 massive, heavily built bodyguards wearing tailored bulletproof suits, earpieces, and carrying concealed heavy iron stood post outside the entrance gates. 2 more guards paced the rooftop with long-range scopes, monitoring every vehicle that turned onto the avenue. Bulletproof glass was installed on every window, and biometric scanners locked down the backrooms where the money and product were sorted. Inside the nail shop office, Shay sat behind a glass desk, counting a towering stack of fresh hundreds while Tink polished her nails with a glossy diamond coat. "Look at this layout, Shay," Lola said, pointing to a wall of high-definition security monitors tracking the perimeter of the entire block. "Nobody can even breathe near our doors without our guards spotting them. We're safer here than the feds." Smokey walked into the back office, Baby Spider resting soundly on his shoulder. He looked at the security monitors, then at his woman, a look of pure respect on his face. "You built a castle, Shay," Smokey smiled, kissing her cheek. "The streets are looking for us out in the trenches, but you're running the whole city right from a luxury chair." Shay smiled back, a dangerous, beautiful spark in her eyes as she locked the fresh cash into a heavy steel safe. "The brothers handle the graveyard, Smokey, but the women run the bank. Redfield wanted a war, but we're going to make sure they starve to death while we look beautiful doing it."